I have an anatomical question about the centaur. First of all, where does it poop? You guys can mull on that one first. That one's the easy one. You know what? I'm not going to draw another person. I'm going to copy and paste the first dude. This is an anatomical question that applies both to the human part and the horse part. So the first one should be fairly straightforward. Where does the centaur poop from? I want to hear back from you guys. All right, we have one person saying that horses or centaurs will poop out of the horse butt. This zone. Is that a unanimous agreement? What the fuck do you mean, where do they poop from? How much more could I explain the question? I leave to text mom for a minute and y'all are talking about centaur shits. Of course, they poop out of the horse ass. Okay, so that's why I said this was the easy one. All right, so centaurs poop from the horse butt. Follow up. Where should a centaur's dick be? I'm getting faux. Where the horses would be? Or, let me propose, because we have the element of the man involved, there is a pelvic region in here somewhere. So, could it perhaps be more beneficial that there would be a human junk? No. Why not? Explain. I need to hear this side of the argument. So we agree. Chad is voting that the peen would be located in the horse peen region, not the man peen region. Why is this the topic? Because it's going to go somewhere, and I promise it's going to be worth it. All right, centaur dicks are huge. They would need more space. Okay, that's a logical argument. That's true fucking vouch. What the fuck did I come back to? This is why we can't have nice things. You're avoiding the answering the question. All right, so when centaurs fuck, what position are we talking here? Because if we're going with the horses, it's going to be centaur, torso, like this, horse body, and then another centaur is going to have to, like, stand up here, arms back, while horse body mounts? Question mark. Correct? Is this how centaurs fuck? Because this is a very exhausting route, I would assume. But if we had it in the front, then we could have consensual facing centaur lovemaking. Would this not be more efficient? We are having the centaur debate again. It's going to go places. How do you think normal horses fuck? Normal horses don't have a whole human torso growing out of their neck. There's a whole extra set of organs up here. So if we've got our lungs and stuff in here, or perhaps maybe our lungs are in the horse part because that's bigger and that would require bigger lungs and whatnot. What about the man? There wouldn't be a need for two sets of lungs. So either the lungs are going to be in the chest or they're going to be in the horse area. Manic is asking you to ask the 3 questions about this, apparently. Uh-oh. That's what I'm interested in. How the internal organ setup would look like if the dick, or look like for dick up front and poo hole out back. That's what I mean! More lungs, you could run better. Okay, so lungs would be in the horse body. Now, granted, we can have all the same anatomy of a horse, but then it doesn't make sense why man would have any organs whatsoever in here. Would man just be pure muscle? Is there no organ in here at all? Is this man built more predominantly just like horse neck? Like big, veiny fucking horse neck with arms coming out of it? You're disappointed in me? Why? I'm asking the serious questions. Seen plenty of interpretations that they have both sets of internals. See, I see them as well, and I argue that that is not logical. What animal on this earth do we know of that has 2 rib cages and 2 sets of organs, as in lungs and kidneys, and like, it's not necessary. It's all one compact animal. We can build a better horse. Now, I want this to be considered, though. If the dongle is in the upper part and not the lower part, we can build a better man. If the dongle's in the front, maybe we've also got the cooter in the front, too, for the ladies. There would be a lot more muscle around this section to squeeze out the baby horse. It would make a little bit more sense to squeeze it out in the front, as opposed to dumping it out the back like they normally do. Womb. Do we want the womb near the rear? Or perhaps a womb could be up here. Think about a pregnant woman. This seems a lot safer to carry this way. If this animal's going to evolve to be semi-upright, then it makes more sense to keep the baby in a more protected zone. Clearly the man-looking part is simply a decoy. Like a fucking anglerfish. Okay, but what are they attracting then if that's the case? Do they prey on humans? Are the centaur hips up strong as those in the back? Oh, good idea, good point. It's all about them hips. There's art of a centaur pregnant in both areas, right? That's what I need to know, which one would be the most efficient, though. I feel like in the front would be more efficient. I feel like we expect the back, that all of the parts would be among the horse parts, but I want to get creative. I think that we could do this more efficiently. I think bigger lungs inside of the horse part, but I think the reproductive part would get moved to the front, and still kind of like the pooper can still be back there, but with this in mind, consider maybe the pooper would be somewhere here, somewhere in this zone. Why? I don't know, just because it might get moved there. Not saying it's the best spot, but it would be still out of the way. You having this debate just to avoid doing line art on the emojis? Don't talk to me! This is important! Sticking to the areas down below just for anatomical sake. Depends, humans have issues with childbirth because their hip shape for bipedal movement. What is your argument for that in this case, where the normal human pelvic region is now like the neck of the horse? Okay, so let's think about that. I like that. This, I feel, could be a much better setup for birthing out that. Instead of it being a pelvis, because it's not going to be a pelvis in this region, is it? It would be the top part of the horse's rib cage, so the clavicle and whatnot, and then the spinal column from the human. So there's a lot more space in here. That being said, our birthing region, is it going to be up here? More so in the gut of the humanoid? Are there clavicles there? Good question. Does anyone know horse anatomy enough? I'm going to Google it. All right, I'm pulling up a horse skeleton. See, it's the same kind of anatomy, I think, for this neck that we have on our human spine. It would just have to be longer. So everything in here is prime resources. Maybe the whole human would be built differently. I feel like maybe it would be a little rounder and wider in this region. Maybe not so much of a defined taper either. It would just sort of torpedo upwards a little more. Why do centaurs have arms? Whatever the artist finds hotter. I do like the idea of it being a decoy. We're not talking about how they fuck, we're talking about how they birth. It's the result of fucking. All right. The reason that this was such a big topic of debate is because, hold on, let me get rid of all this. We've got some has-been fans here. I have a question for you. Where do Nagas poop? I'm so sorry, that one dude. You're in for some of the chaos that I usually bring up. We are going through the anatomical questionings of centaurs and nagas and other various humanoid forms that are combined with animals. We have one vote for cloaca. Chauncey, I have a question for you. Where is the cloaca located? Because on a people, we've got our people pelvis. But on a snake, the cloaca, the vent, is going to be down here, at the tippy tip of the tail just about. The four people will give you a very unanimous answer for nagas. That's true, but that's not what we're asking here. I refuse to accept that they would poop out of the snake's back. That's what I mean. So if this is where a human's butthole would be back here, why are we going to decide that all of a sudden the snake's butthole is also not there? Like, if this is where a man would poop, but this is where a snake would poop, which one is where the naga would poop? It's pelvis. The rest of the tail is muscle and spine for stability. Is that true? Because this is how snakes are currently built. They don't have the ribcage and upper portion. So all of their organs are squidged through all up in here because it's all one big ribcage.
We got a boomer!
I thought in situations like this, both would exist. See, we've countered that argument a little bit because there's no reason for an animal to have two sets of all of those things if it was born and raised and created to be both. So we decided it makes more sense for the horse lungs to be the ones that centaurs have. There's kind of like no lungs situation going on up in there. Wouldn't make much sense. Pelvis. I've read enough gay naga smut for this. So Mala, Where do they poop from? It's a freak of nature, though. That's why we're talking about it. Where does this freak poop? The human-looking portion is just always a decoy. Normally because they don't have any other places to store their intestines, though in this, a naga had a benefit of the upper body. I think, like, up by the pelvis would make more sense. So you're telling me that all of this has 0 organs in it. Because if there is no butthole on the snake end, which is where it would be on a snake, then all of the organs for the entire creature are here. And this is just pure muscle, nothing else. Just imagine the tail being muscle, fatty tissue for stability. There's no space for organs. All Penchus has space for is penis power. Counterpoint, a human heart does not have the strength to pump blood through a whole tail like that. Good. So, would it have more than one heart? Because if we are going to say that this is all muscle, you're right. The human heart would not be able to pump that. So maybe we have a second heart somewhere down here. Also depends. Do nagas eat simply to a snake or a human? If they are human-sized but eat like a snake, I'd argue that they'd need more space for the digestive tract. Could it be that it has 2 sets of organs? It could be, but I feel like that's the least likely option for a realistic interpretation of the animal. Chauncey says double dong penis power. But snakes already have double dongs. 2 hearts beat in hell. You guys really just are so committed to avoiding the where does Serpentius poop from question. Because, okay, so you want to argue that it's all the cloaca, right? And the cloaca is in the peen zone. So this is also where our butthole would be. You're telling me that Serpentius would have to sit on a toilet facing the back like this to poop.
SPOOQ 3M can now hatch from their egg.
Thank you for the follow, spooky guy. I need ibuprofen after this. You're committed to that. This is how he poops? See, I would argue, and this is what the last people I had this conversation with had decided on, that we have our front cloaca for all of the genitalia, but that the anal region would have its own separate vent down in the rear so that the snake half would still be functional. And this would also be able to potentially work, given snake anatomy too, because we could treat this like our womb for our eggs, because that's what snakes would do. Now, that being said, this also would entail a fun pooping position for Serpentius, because instead of pooping facing the toilet, riding it like a cowboy, he would now have to poop essentially like this, standing up, back facing the toilet, reading his newspaper. To me, that one makes more sense. I'm adamant that they poop out of the snake end, and I will not be swayed on this. Been completely distracted from the voice chat I'm in. I blame you, Frag. I told you this was a fun conversation topic. I've already asserted, or asserted my argument. One would hope that there is a snake accommodating toilets. This will come back into play. We will touch base on this again one day.